All right, we're live. Say hello.
Hey, great to be on.
John, thanks for having me in your home. I appreciate it.
Great to have you here.
All right, we got 15, 20 minutes, and we got what? I think we have 8 questions for you, so let's rock and roll.
You all ready?
I'm going to do my introduction. I'm really excited for this one because the guy to my right, John Assaraf, is the guy that taught me about being committed or being interested. This is something that we do a coaching program in our company. I've shared this not only in coaching, but when I've been asked about speaking about meeting goals, I always bring up being committed versus being interested.
It's a big difference.
It is. I'm still trying to figure it out myself as we talked off camera. We'll talk a little bit about that on camera.
That'd be great.
So let's tell them a little bit about you, John. You're a troubled teenager who always got into a lot of trouble to having built several multi-million-dollar companies, one of which was a very large real estate company in Indiana. You've authored many books, including 2 New York Times bestsellers. You've been in movies. You're the founder of NeuroGym now. Tell us a little bit about your path to where you are today.
So I think like many people, I grew up wanting to achieve goals. I wanted to have a good lifestyle. I remember as I'm sitting here, I used to watch this TV show called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous.
Yeah.
And there was this guy, Robin Leach from LA.
Is he still alive?
He's dead. No, he died.
Dead.
And, I used to see nice cars and nice homes and beautiful guys and beautiful gals. And I used to dream, just, had no idea how to achieve any of those goals. And I used to just think, wouldn't it be nice? And that was really the beginning of me getting a little taste of what's possible. And the challenge, for me, I was raised in a loving home. Father was a cab driver. Mom worked at a local department store. And they always believed that you had to go to college, get some kind of a degree in order to make a lot of money. And I believed that too, until I met some people that were making a lot of money that didn't have a college degree. So that kind of, shattered my paradigm around, well, if they're making a lot of money and they're living a better lifestyle, then what's holding me back?
Yeah.
Like, what's holding me back? And I fortunately, at 19, got a mentor. Or he got me. I don't know which is which. And I was getting into a lot of trouble doing illegal things, making money, selling drugs, doing breaking and entries, selling stolen goods, and getting caught. I wasn't very good, but I was committed to making money. And I can laugh about it today, but back then, when I was 15, 16, 17, I thought that was the way I was going to do it because I didn't like school. I wasn't good at school, so all the jobs I had were menial jobs, cleaning the floors in a pharmacy, delivering groceries, my fucking bicycle, with the groceries in a basket, ironing clothes in a factory, all the menial jobs. And I wanted more, but I didn't have any idea how to achieve more. And nobody in my immediate family or even our friends made a lot of money. So the environment that I grew up in wasn't conducive to anything but hoping, praying, and dreaming.
Yeah.
And then I met one man, one question, one answer, changed the trajectory of my life. And then he put me on a path to understanding what's going on in my head, what was I feeling that would either cause me to accelerate and achieve my goals or decelerate and stay stuck. And then he caused me to get onto a 1 hour a day of upgrading my knowledge and skills.
1 hour a day?
1 hour a day.
Including weekends?
Every freaking day.
Okay.
9 40-hour weeks a year is 1 hour a day, 365 hours.
Okay.
And so for you, for me, for anybody who's watching, let's say we say, hey, let's learn how to knit. And we said, okay, let's do an hour today. And every day for the next year, we learn how to knit together. 1 hour a day. Do you think at the end of the year we'd be pretty good knitters?
Yes.
Yeah. Take anything and invest 1 hour a day getting better at that skill. You're going to be better in 1 year. You're going to be a lot better in 3 years. You're going to be fucking amazing in 5 to 10 years. So at the time I started, I was 19. So I started in real estate, in your world. And so I started to learn about, like, what is marketing? What are the objections a seller could ask me? What are the objections a buyer could ask me? What is a listing presentation? What do the best in the business do? How do they talk? How do they feel? How do they present? What do they show people? And so I just learned what the best people did, and I studied for an hour a day. And I learned scripts. My first mentor in real estate was Tommy Hopkins.
Oh, wow.
Tommy Hopkins. He had these cassettes, right? I'm aging myself now. I'm 58, right? So I was 19 when I got into real estate, all right? So 39 years ago. And he had these cassette tapes that
that would have been 80.
It was May of 1980 is when I got into real estate. June is when I graduated, and then I got into real estate. And I had these cassettes that said, here's what you say, when you're looking at a home. Here's what you say with a for sale by owner. Here's what you say for an expired listing. And I just learned, just repeat listening to these audio cassettes. And before too long, I was starting to talk a little bit like the cassettes. And holy shit, it worked. Yeah. So I became a little parrot, but it's because I committed to 1 hour a day to upgrade my skills as a realtor. Forget about everything else in my life, just as a real estate agent.
So was the information, just out of curiosity, was the information you were consuming strictly real estate related, or did you go to other industries that were also sales, like, let's say, I don't know, car sales or something?
Initially, no. Initially, it was to become a better real estate agent. I had to become better at sales, and I had to be better at marketing, of which I had zero experience. I had to get good at overcoming my own fears, my own insecurities, my own limiting beliefs, of which I had no idea that I had any. I thought I was a pretty cool kid at 19. Yeah. I was dumber than a fucking doorknob at 19. But I got put on a track with a process, and I followed the process. And then I started to achieve some results, and then I started to say, wow, this is working. So then I wanted to accelerate it. So then I just started to expand my awareness of, okay, what else is possible? How do I get from this level to the next level to the next level? And that's where I started getting into, high performance thinking, understanding, time. There is no such thing as time. The only thing that there is what you can do in time. So people who are highly, highly successful managed what they did in time. I had a very good friend of mine who was my lawyer back in the early 80s. In Canada, they didn't have title companies. They had lawyers who closed deals. And every time I'd call him, I'd get a fucking bill. I go, Don, I spoke to you for 5 minutes. What the hell is this? She says, yeah, I know, but I'm a lawyer. I get paid by the hour, so I keep track of everything that I do. I said, how do you keep track? He said, well, I have this document that I keep track. Whenever I talk to a client, I bill in 5-minute increments. So if I talk to you for 5 minutes, I charge you, 5 minutes worth of my hour, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, etc. So can you send me that document? And he said, sure. So he gave me the document. I actually went to pick it up. And he had these little blocks of time. And so I started to track, what did I do every day? And 80-90% of the time, I was doing shit. I was doing stuff, getting ready to get ready. I was doing this $10, $12 an hour, $15 an hour work today. It was like, $3, $4 an hour work back then. I was going, oh my God, like I'm wasting 90% of my day. What if I could just get better 1 extra hour a day? What if I get better 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day? What if I was able to focus on what I call today is the high income producing activities and the high impact producing activities?
Wow, so there's so many thoughts that I wrote.
Right,
I wish I had a pen and paper. Let me see if I can.
Well, that's good, because then there's value here.
Yeah, no, there's 3. So there's a guy named Bobby Castro who I had on the show. He's from a part of Miami called Hialeah, and he grew up. Long story short, he founded a company called Bankers Healthcare Group. Ended up exiting at $1 billion valuation. His last 17%. Right, so his net worth is $300 million. Yeah. His real estate portfolio is over $350 million. He talks about non-refundable minutes.
That's right.
So that's you guys would
exactly the same thing.
You guys would get along amazing.
Yeah, 86,400 seconds in a day, gone every day.
I have to introduce you guys.
Yeah. So the question then becomes, okay, what am I really doing in time? And I know everybody's watching, right? Real estate, not real estate. Yeah, mainly we all wake up, whatever time you wake up, and you have X amount of hours. But what you discover very, very quickly is people who do 2, 3, 5, 10x don't work any harder. They work hard. They don't work any harder, but what they do in time is different.
Sure. Well, what I loved about what you said in that, going back to that coaching program, I just totally forgot I didn't do the intro, which always happens when I have a great guest on. I'll get to it when I get to it. But when we get to a part of like, I didn't have time to make the phone calls. We asked them to make 50 phone calls in a week. So what we
but that's a true objection. They didn't have the time.
Correct.
Right.
So what we do is we make them identify where they spend their time on. Like write down in the journal. You woke up, you went to the bathroom for 10 minutes. Write down. You went to the bathroom for 10
exactly
minutes.
Right.
You take it to another level using the attorney analogy of billing and what you're billing. I love that. That's something I got to add to it.
Yeah, add to it. And if you think about, what are you actually selling as a real estate agent, right? You're selling your expertise that you can help people buy a home or sell a house, right? So that means that the person who knows what to say, when to say it, and how to say it, so let's take some of the skill that you need, and is in front of somebody who could buy or sell a house, will make the most amount of money.
And we're going to talk about being in front of the customer a little bit later. Talk to me about when your mentor told you, are you interested or are you committed? Because I will tell you that I'm still trying to figure it. And then how do you figure out what you're interested in and what you're committed in? Because I'm there.
Great. So when my brother had arranged, for those of you who don't know my backstory, my brother had arranged for lunch with me with one of his clients who is a very successful real estate developer, owner of a real estate office, who had, I think, 7 or 8 offices at the time and 700-800 real estate agents. And successful in his marriage, successful as a father, successful as a philanthropist. And my brother was trying to help me because I was getting into a lot of trouble. Yeah. And so he arranged for a lunch for me. I traveled by train from Montreal to Toronto to go for lunch with my brother and this man, because my brother said, maybe he can help you. So I had no expectations. I just thought I was going to meet a rich dude. Yeah. And 19 years old, it was April of 1980. And I'll tell you why I remember this date so well. And so we're sitting there and he says, well, what are your goals? I said, what do you mean? He said, what are your goals? I said, well, I don't know. I want to make enough money to get my own apartment. I'm living at home with my mom and dad. I'd like to get my own car because I keep driving my sister's car. I'd like to have some money in my pocket to go out and, party. Get some drinks, some party, have some fun. Those are my goals. He said, okay, great.
Especially at 19.
Like, what else do you want to achieve? Like, what kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of car do you want to drive? How do you want to travel? Where do you want to travel? I said, I don't know. I'm 19. Yeah. So he gave me this 1980 goal-setting guide. And he said, why don't you take a few moments while I talk to your brother and just fill out some of these pages of what age do you want to retire by? How much money do you want to have in the bank? Where do you want to live? Blah, blah, blah. And so I took this document like, oh, God, what the hell is this for? What does this guy want me to do this for? And it's like, felt like work to me. So I wrote down, I want to retire by age 45 with $3 million in the bank. It was 26 years later than I was old, right? Okay. 45 years old, Mercedes-Benz, nice house, traveled the world, first class, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I came back and I gave it to him about, 15, 20 minutes later, and he looked at it and he goes, oh, some good goals. Where'd you get these ideas from? I said, well, lifestyles of the rich and famous.
That's awesome.
So I thought $3 million was a lot of money back then. Yeah. It was, it still is today. So he looks at me square in the eye and he goes, so are you interested in achieving these goals or are you committed? And I looked at him dumbfounded and I said, well, what's the difference? He said, son, if you're interested, you'll come up with stories and excuses and reasons why you can't achieve those goals. You'll do what's easy and convenient, and you won't do what it takes, which is what is required if you want to achieve your goals. When you're committed, you do whatever it takes. You upgrade your knowledge, you upgrade your skills, you change the beliefs to match the goals, you develop the habits to become the person who can achieve all those goals.
So how do you distinguish between how do you figure out what you're interested in and what you're committed to?
Yeah, so you write out a list of what are all the stories and reasons and excuses that you're using right now for not achieving the goals that you'd really like to achieve. And so you're going to come up with a few things if you're really honest with yourself. One is you're going to come up with possibly one of the biggest reasons is fear. Now, we know from all the neuroscience research that I do today that there are 50 different types of fears that automatically hold people back. Okay. So fear number one, fear of failure. So what if I do my best, and I fail, then what will I think of me? What will my children, my wife, my co-workers, my friends, my parents, my family think of me if I fail? So now when we have a fear of failure, what we're really concerned with is actually our self-image and self-esteem. So we have fear of failure, fear of success and failing, fear of disappointment, ourselves and others, fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged. So fear is directly associated in many cases to self-image, self-worth. So that takes me to number 2, which is if I have an inferiority complex, meaning that the vision or the goal that I have is bigger than my current self-image is, my current self-image will sabotage me doing anything towards that big vision or goal. So that's number 2. So self-image, self-esteem, self-worth ties directly to fear. Number 3 is I may have limiting beliefs. So are my limiting beliefs getting in my way? Do I feel like I don't have enough knowledge? I don't have enough skill? I don't have the know-how? I don't have the money? I don't have the resource? I don't have the connections? I'm too Asian, too Caucasian, too white, too whatever, too young or too old? So now when we have limiting beliefs are the lens by which our brain processes information, sees the world, and causes our behavior. So fear, self-image, limiting beliefs. Now we go to habits. So when we understand habits, our brain creates habits to conserve energy. And it doesn't care what habits you've created, but the habits that you've created require less energy than new habits to formulate. And so if we have habits that require energy and could cause us to fail or cause us to be embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, or judged, now we're dealing with energy conservation and we're dealing with an emotional reason why we'll sabotage our success and not even take action. So those are 4. And the 5th one ties directly into, I just don't know what to do.
Yeah. We talked about that.
And that's the easiest one to solve, because knowledge and the skill required for every goal you want or I want or anybody who's watching right now, the blueprint already exists. So the how-to is the least of the problems. It's all an inner game. I mean, that's why I wrote my new book, Inner Size. That's why I started my company, NeuroGym, is to help people win the inner game of mindset, of emotional control, of how the brain works, so they could actually be master and commander of their brain and know how to activate the genius part of their brain, which is what I call the Einstein part of the brain, instead of allowing Frankenstein to rule the day.
I like that, Einstein versus Frankenstein. Yeah. So let's talk about, I'm gonna jump ahead because you mentioned something about the happiness part in the brain and motivation. Because at the end of the day, and I share this a lot with the agents as well, it doesn't matter how good you are at sales or closing or interviewing or doing whatever. If you don't want to get out of bed in the morning, it doesn't matter. So what systems do you have in place, whether through Inner Size or with the gym, the Neuro Gym, to stay in that positive, motivated mindset, even when you're getting kicked in the behind?
You have to create a vision for yourself, your life, your family, maybe your community, and maybe even other human beings, plants or animals, pets, whatever the case might be, that's bigger than you, that pulls you towards it when you don't feel like it. So that's number 1, is your vision big enough to pull you towards it? And then right with that is, do you have a reason that's bigger than you? Like, why must you overcome any challenge, fear, problem, trauma, hurdle, obstacle? Like, why must you? Because if your must isn't big enough, then you deactivate the motivational fuel. The motivation, if we break down the word motivation, it's motive for action. If you don't have a motive for action that's bigger than you, you won't do what is required just for you. Something I shared with you earlier that I'll share again.
Yeah, please.
And I shared somebody. Let's say I told, I asked everybody who's watching and you said, take your best year ever, and let's say you're going to make a goal right now, okay, to 10x that in the next 12 months. 10x. So if you've made 50,000, it's 500. If you made $1 million, it's 10 million. If you've made 100,000, it's $1 million. Whatever it is. And I said to you, think of somebody that you love more than anybody else in the world. Somebody or something, like a pet. And you said, my pet blank, or my wife, or my husband, or my son or daughter, kids, whatever the case. And I said to you, okay, if you don't overcome any of the mental or emotional obstacles that are currently holding you back, and you achieve that goal, you will never see that person again. Will your thinking change? Will you figure out a way to overcome bad habits, to overcome limiting beliefs, to overcome fears, to overcome a self-image issue, to overcome I don't have the knowledge of skill? Will you figure out a way starting right now? Clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Clock is ticking. Of course you would. And let's say you gave it your best every day. You woke up every day knowing if I don't do everything I can today to achieve my goals, I don't see the person that I love the most in the world 12 months from now. You'd have a totally different paradigm and frame for your motive for action.
That was when you asked me that off camera. I was like, "Holy shit!"
You'd have a totally different motive for action. So why not create the reasons why you must that are so compelling that when you're laying there and being, "Oh shit, I don't feel like doing this," you go, "What's bigger than that? What is bigger than that? Do I really want to stay in bed for an extra 30 or 40 minutes? Is this really going to help me achieve the lifestyle, the freedom, the health, whatever it is that you want to achieve?" And if your why isn't bigger than your current reason not to, you won't. You just won't if you don't have the motivation to do it. And so one of the things I always ask people is, how much time have you thought about this? How much time have you really thought, what's really holding me back? And then am I committed to overcoming that no matter what? Because the vision, the goals, the lifestyle, the purpose that I have here on earth is bigger than any goal. And when you make yourself bigger than any goal or reason why, then you're able to overcome any of the stuff that is in your way right now.
Man, I'm sitting here listening to all this and I'm thinking, I haven't done shit. I say I'm interested versus being committed. I'm like, I haven't done all this work yet, right. and I'm willing to admit I just have not done that work. I haven't done the homework. I guess that's probably the better way to do it.
So I can tell you stay in shape.
I do work out, absolutely.
Oh, good. So you obviously are committed to that. What do you do when you don't feel like going to the gym?
I work out anyways.
Right, you go anyways.
And if I don't, even if my wife will drag me out of the bed because we put an entire CrossFit gym in our garage.
Oh, so you're committed.
Like, oh yeah.
Oh, you're committed to that.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
even with a herniated disc.
Right, so you're committed to that. You've put an environment together to make it easy for you. So what I'm talking about is let's focus on the internal environment first. Let's get the inner game plan and blueprint ready first. Then we take care of the outer environment. Those two environments are conducive. So if you don't feel like getting out of bed because you think that you are lazy, get an accountability partner. Put together some processes and systems, to listen, to watch, to practice, to rehearse. In some of the work I do with professional athletes, one of the things that's really easy for them to get is how much work it took for them to become a pro. And when I ask them, well, why aren't you doing that in your relationships? Why aren't you doing that in your money management? Sure. Why aren't you doing that in your other parts of your life? They go, oh, I really didn't think about it. So, well, what got you to the pros here is what gets you to the pros there. Now, you may not want to be, pro level, athlete and have to play at that game, but we're all choosing whether we're playing at the kindergarten level, high school, grade school, or kindergarten, grade school, high school, university, pro level, all-star, or Hall of Fame. And the level of commitment to play, if you want to be in the pro level, you've got to think, feel, behave, do, and review like a pro.
Yeah, and you said something I think a lot of people need to pick up on, and I want to repeat it. I talked about my wife.
Yeah.
And you're like, you surround yourself with the right people. And that's
the right people and the right environment, right? And so, when you walked into my home, the first thing you see is my home gym.
Correct.
Right? That's because I'm committed to my health. Right? Committed to my health.
That's right.
And I wasn't always. but I decided I got to be committed to my health. So I said, okay, what does commitment look like? Commitment looks like no more excuses, no more stories, no more reasons, no more. Enough is freaking enough. So everybody, at the end of every day, if you thought of your life as a painting, I love art, as you can tell. At the end of every day, you've just signed that painting called your life. Are you in love with what you signed? Every day, every week, every month, your signature just goes, look at my work. Look what I did with lifetime. And if you can't say fucking yeah, you do that too many days in a row, too many weeks in a row, too many months in a row, you develop a habit of mediocrity. And then that habit creates your life in a mediocre way. And so this is where the brain stuff, is so fascinating to me, because once we create a habit, it becomes part of our automatic self. And then even if we set the vision, the goals, and we have the why, it will not override the automatic self, which is in the subconscious.
I'm still stuck on the whole painting. If you painted your life, I'm glad you kept talking. I probably would have started crying because that's going to lead to my neck. My eyes I had the emotion because I was like, man, that's
it's deep. It's like you're painting. Like, it's I'm at an interesting place in my life right now. We've had 9 friends die in the last 12 months. 9. 3 were in their 30s, 2 were in their 50s, and the other 4 were in their 70s and 80s.
Holy shit.
And I've been getting this really, really deep, and my parents are both at what I call is the death zone right now at 89 and 86, where I'm going back and forth from where they live. And life is so precious. So precious. We have these rules, I'll do it when. And your 20s and your 30s and your 40s come, and then again to my 50s. But what most people don't realize is whatever you start to habituate yourself to expect, your beliefs, your habits, your performance, your behaviors, your results, if you don't break free now, it just gets harder and harder and harder and harder, because you're reinforcing those neural networks that formulate all of how you see the world and what you expect and what you do.
Yeah.
And so when we're dealing with life, and life is on the line, every day you just signed another painting. And those paintings accumulate to formulate, everything that you see, your body of work. And you're going to have a chance, and you have a chance right now to go, am I proud of my paintings? Would I have added a little bit extra color to it? Would I have let go of a little bit of this and a little bit of that and added more of this? And the purpose of what I just said is not to make you feel bad, to blame you, make you ashamed, guilty, or judge you. It's to help you become aware, because awareness is one of your greatest gifts, and awareness is what gives you choice, and choice is what gives you freedom when you act upon it.
Sure.
And so you can say, you know what, maybe I haven't done everything that I could up until now, but today I commit to discovering how I can do more of what is required to achieve the vision, the goals that I have in my life.
And you just went ahead and answered the question I had about capacity. Let's switch to real estate. This is we're in San Diego. We're filming in San Diego. I got other meetings in LA, and I'm going to watch this I'm going to listen to it on the drive home. And on the airplane, I'm going to sit down with my notepad and take notes. And I'm going to iCloud this because we're pre-recording. I'm going to send it to my wife to watch. So when I land tomorrow night, we can talk about this, because we're in that boat of trying to figure out what our goals are as a family, as individuals,
awesome. and
how we achieve it. So this has been perfect. This has been very timely. Let's talk about real estate. In that interview you did with Tom Bilyeu, which was that interview where I heard about interested versus committed, you said something that stuck out to me, which was when you ran your real estate company and you had 1,500 agents, when you looked at the agents that made $750,000 or more, they spent on average at least 75% of their time with their customers versus doing all the other stuff. Right. So my question is, why do you think that spending that kind of time in front of the client is so important? And do you really believe that it made that much of an impact on those agents?
So the number that you use is actually about 85% of the time they were in front of somebody who could buy or sell a home. Now, back in the 80s and 90s, that was really the beginning of teams, right? And where did teams, start to develop? Some really smart agents said, you know what? When I'm in front of somebody who can give me a listing, and I get that listing, and I have inventory, and other agents basically work for me because I have inventory, that's a really high impact activity. And I get paid the most amount of money when I get a listing. And then, buyers come in the mix as well. And if I have a buyer who's ready to buy and I can qualify out of every 10 buyers, I can qualify 2 and I can work with those 2.
Those are the A buyers.
Those are my A buyers. So now if I'm spending my time finding A buyers and I'm good at listings, now I'm controlling a bit of the marketplace. So if you ask yourself, on average, how much do you make per transaction? Let's say it's $5,000, whatever the number is. And you say, okay, how many hours did I spend getting that listing? How many hours did I actually spend with a buyer to find a home? Let's say it's 20 hours. Let's say it's 40 hours. Let's say it's 50 hours, and you made X number per hour worked. Versus right now, texting, checking your email, writing certain things, doing all of the trivial many things that a real estate agent has to do. I get it. You have to do it, or it has to get done.
Yeah. Or hire somebody to do it.
Or hire somebody to do it. So you say, at my highest income state, I can earn X dollars per hour. And when I do anything other than that, I'm earning less per hour. So let's say you work 10 hours a week, or 10 hours a day, 50 hours, 60 hours a week. Should you be really doing the stuff that's $15 an hour work, $12 an hour work, $20 an hour, $25 an hour? Should you really be doing that? Or should you either be getting listings or prospecting? Sure. Which one?
And it goes back to that the attorney
That's
principle.
Right.
I love that.
So what happens is when you start to look at time as your asset, and what you do in time matters, you start going, okay, how can I invest, how can I buy back some of my time so that I can go and prospect more, or go and learn how to use the internet better to prospect for me and use leveraging tools? And how can I get in front of people that are buying or selling homes more? And so our agents back then that were making like, $25,000, $35,000 a year, they were in front of buyers like 15 to 20% of the time, or sellers.
Yeah.
Our agents were making, $50,000 to $100,000 a year. They were like, 35 to 50% of their time. Our agents are making $100,000 to $250,000. They're like 50 to 60% of their time in front of buyers or sellers. And then the people who are really crushing it, they figured out how to buy back all their time and invest as many of their hours in front of people who could buy or sell a home.
And what's crazy, 20, 30 years later, that principle remains
still
the
applies.
Same. All the top producers that have been on the show,
yeah,
they're never writing contracts. They're always with customers.
Yeah, and here's the challenge for many agents today, is those agents who are really smart now also know how to utilize technology to prospect by the hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands. The stuff that we had to do manually many years ago is all automated now. So you could be using social media and Facebook and Pinterest and Instagram and TikTok and whatever other social media platforms out there to get your prospecting done en masse. And that's how you...
Hence the show.
Hence the show. And then you can start to use, a lot of the tools to do all the tedious work. And now, with artificial intelligence coming into the game, you're going to see, 95% of the agents are going to be sharing 5% of the money. And you're going to see 5% of the agents are going to be sharing 95% of the money.
I agree with you.
We're
there already.
The Pareto principle is going to be blown on its ass in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, we're there already. We're seeing it already. Yeah. So, John, you've accomplished so much. What's next for you? What's on tap?
Well, there's the earning years. Or the learning years, the earning years. I'm in the giving years now.
Okay. What are the earning years? 40s, 50s?
It depends on, for everybody it's different.
Okay.
I started really early at 19. I got into real estate when I was 19. I sold real estate for about 7, 8 years. Then I started Remax of Indiana. Yeah. And then I parlayed that into other business ventures. And so now I'm really into helping as many people as I can now. I'm getting. I was blessed that I had a really wickedly kind, loving, smart mentor. Then I had another 2 guys who were real estate magnates. Sure. Be my mentors. And so, now I write. I've got some best-selling books, and I do some private consulting and stuff. And so now I get a chance to share. Yeah. I still learn. I'm still involved in business. I still, work 40, 50 hours a week. But it's not work for me. It's play.
Yeah, you're doing it because you want to, not because you have to.
Yeah.
Where can they find you?
Facebook fan page. I just started a new private Facebook page called Achieve Even More.
Okay.
My whole brand, my whole life for myself has been about achieve even more. More peace of mind, more charity, more fun, more experiences, more giving, more having. And so I just started a private Facebook group. It's free, called Achieve Even More. I've got a fan page, Instagram, Twitter, and at myneurogym.com and johnassaraf.com.
There you go. John, thank you
Thanks,
so very, very much. Welcome me into your beautiful home.
Thanks.
I walked in, I saw your gym, but while I took pictures of just coming in the driveway and seeing the ocean. I'm going to go behind the camera and turn it off. Any parting words for the audience?
I think, the only parting word I think is that's worthwhile is, why don't you take 15 minutes just to stop and think. So instead of just like watching this and then going on to the next thing, there are 2 things that are uniquely human about you and me and every other human. One is that you have this incredible ability to think, which is vastly different than having thoughts. And thinking means stop right now and say, okay, what did I learn today? What ahas did I have? And then what could I apply? 1 or 2 things that by applying it would drastically change my life and my results. Not 10 things, but 1 or 2 things. And as you do that, then say, what is it that I'm committed to transform or to doing to transform my life and my results? And if you do that in a state of awareness, where you are aware that you have the most powerful biocomputer in the entire universe, and for the most part, no user's manual. How do I use my brain better to help me achieve my goals and dreams faster and easier than ever before? And here's what I can promise you. If you do some thinking and you make some decisions, 1 good decision can change the trajectory of your life.
There you go. We'll end it there. John, thank you.
There you go.